Israel is done playing by Hamas's rules. Not because we've stopped caring about the hostages, but because Hamas has shown us what they've told us really from the beginning, that they aren't interested in a real deal. After almost 2 years of war, Netanyahu has essentially announced that Israel is done playing by Hamas's rules. We are moving towards a full military takeover of Gaza, not because we've stopped caring about the hostages, but because Hamas has shown us what they've told us really from the beginning, that they aren't interested in a real deal. The latest hostage video of Eviatal David made that brutally clear. It showed a man who's not just starving to death, he was being forced to dig his own grave. Not just being held captive, but literally being forced to die in Hamas's tunnels. And that video, ironically, might be Hamas's biggest mistake. They thought it would pressure Israel to concede, but instead it pushed Israel towards finishing the war on our own terms. Because Hamas's real weapon isn't rockets, it's psychological warfare, and it backfired this time. Hamas knows it can't win a war militarily. It can't defeat the IDF in a straight fight. So instead it wages a war of narratives and emotions, and it's running two parallel propaganda campaigns. Aid and starvation narratives aimed at the world, designed to generate international outrage and pressure on Israel to stop the war. But the other thing is hostage videos and psychological torture, aimed not at the world but at Israelis, designed to exploit our internal divisions, create panic and force the government to cave into a deal that will be nothing but bad for us. They release content whenever it's strategically useful. When the world starts to question Hamas's stories about starvation, they push new humanitarian crisis images, often staged or stripped of context. In fact, the more children are killed or the more children are starving, the better for Hamas. When internal Israeli protests, however, build up against the government, they release new hostage videos to fan the flames. This is not random, it is a deliberate playbook. The aimed propaganda is an emotional trap designed through a very clear narrative. From day one, Hamas has weaponized the humanitarian crisis, and I say crisis carefully, because it is they that hoard the food and fuel in their tunnels. They then go ahead filming civilians going hungry above ground, despite the facts on the ground that show that there's way more than enough food for all of Gaza. They attack aid convoys themselves, sometimes firing at trucks, at the people distributing the food and the people going to collect the food, to create footage of chaos that they can blame on Israel. They know that the West, especially progressive audiences, respond emotionally to these images and not intellectually. The result? Global leaders like Macron, Spain, Ireland, even the UK and Australia start demanding ceasefires and recognition of a Palestinian state, even when every intelligence report says Hamas is still fully armed and hiding, and they are the ones responsible for everything going bad in Gaza. Here's the truth. If Israel stopped fighting tomorrow, Hamas wouldn't stop starving its own people because it works for their propaganda machine. Unfortunately, the people who actually care about the Gazans are the ones propagating the tragedy against them. The world doesn't want to face this because it's easier to blame the side with tanks and jets than the side with propaganda videos. It's scary to understand that this is radical Islam at its worst, and it's coming for everybody. And it is so much easier to believe that Israel are the terrible ones. So let's just blame them. And then this whole thing can just go away and the children will be okay. But children under Hamas, Palestinian children, will never be okay. Neither will Israeli children. Which brings us to the next hostage propaganda that is dividing Israelis every single day. It's hostage videos that aren't just meant to break Israeli morale, they're meant to turn Israelis against each other. Families of the hostages seeing this footage, which makes all of us sick, demand immediate deals, any deal, to save their loved ones. I don't blame them. I'd feel the same way. Others say, if we give in, though, Hamas wins. And this is such a hard balance to play, the balance of emotion versus intellect. The government is caught in the middle, torn between public pressure and actual strategy, oftentimes militarily. How do you go in and eliminate an enemy that hides with our hostages that we need to get? Every time, however, an Israeli leader hints at progress in Gaza, Hamas releases a new video to stall momentum. It is psychological warfare designed to make us fight amongst ourselves instead of uniting to defeat them, because they know what I wish we would know, that if we are united, they can't beat us. But if we are divided, they have a chance. On that note, we have a very, very complicated few weeks ahead of us. If Israel does decide to go full force, if the Palestinian state is recognized, even though that's never actually going to happen because the Palestinians themselves won't allow for it. And we need so much prayers for the hostage families, prayers for the hostages themselves, and prayers for the country and the leadership to move forward into this resounding win and to be a light upon the nation, to show the world that we must eviscerate and eliminate evil at all costs, even if we're hated for it. I'm Ira Kay, and I will see you next time.